Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. What's good? This is a space where I like to empower businesses, creatives, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial spirits, to navigate the challenges of running a successful business. And today I just want to talk to you a little bit about the CTA, or the Corporate Transparency Act. It being the CTA is a fairly new regulation. You may have seen, if you are on like business Instagram, you may have seen, that like jail meme, like file your report, otherwise you'll owe $10,000 and the government's gonna lock you up. So that's what I want to talk to y'all about today. So by the end of this really short video, you should know a little bit more what the CTA is, how it affects your business, and who it's going to impact. Not to mention just why it's important to stay informed. You get me? So the Corporate Transparency Act is something that was passed in 2021. And the goal of it was really to combat things like tax fraud, money laundering, and just all sorts of illegal activities by getting business owners to be upfront about who they are, who gets paid, who owns what, all of that stuff. And that is really what is called BOI. And BOI is what you're reporting on. That is your beneficial owners information. So you've got CTA, Corporate Transparency Act, and BOI, beneficial owners information, beneficial ownership information. And so what you all being small business owners, what you are being asked to report on with regards to your BOI, or beneficial ownership information, is anyone who owns at least 25% of the business organization. So that's going to be your name, your date of birth, address, and other identifying details, right? This report then goes to FinCEN. FinCEN is a subset of the tax department, or the Treasury Department, I'm sorry. And what FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Network. They also monitor lots of illegal activity. All this, like, as I'm talking about it, sounds like I'm in some sort of like, I don't know, movie, like BOI, CTA, FinCEN, like, I don't know. Doesn't it sound like a suspense thriller? Am I tripping? Financial Crimes Network? Like, I don't know. Now I kind of don't want to work there. Like, do they have like special badges? Is this going to be like one of those like agencies or groups that like Elon tries to shut down with Doge? I don't know. Anyway, FinCEN. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Which, that sounds even weirder. We're enforcing the financial crimes? Anyway, this is important to my audience because my audience, or at least my content, is geared towards small business owners, owners of micro enterprises. Micro enterprises are when you have like 10 employees or less. And then I think it's up to like 150 employees. That's considered a small business enterprise. This applies to small businesses. So if you've got less than 20 employees and you've got a revenue under $5 million, you need to file your BOI report with FinCEN. And there has been a lot of back and forth. There was a court in Texas that said, hey, we don't like this. We want to put a stop to this reporting. It's not fair. Because it's also kind of crazy that like large corporations don't have to file this. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe we should blame like the PPP fraudsters for this new reporting requirement that we all now have to comply with. But as of today, you do have 11 days left to file that report. Allegedly, the government says that they're not going to throw people in jail if you don't meet the requirement. Like, they're not looking to throw people in jail for fun or for no reason. And if you do file your report on time, but maybe there's like incorrect information, or you messed up somehow, they are giving, I believe, what it is to be like a 90-day grace period. But I would say don't even put yourself in that situation. If you are seeing this video now, if you have a small business registered under your name, whether that's an LLC or an S corp, or a partnership, just go ahead and do what you need to do to stay compliant. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know. You really never know, especially with this new administration. I honestly don't know or think that our government is going to expend the resources to put people in jail that are making less than $5 million a year, but you never know, and you never want to be the person that finds out. At least I don't want to be the person that finds out. And I'll be honest, I've kind of been waiting for like the final decision. So like I haven't even filed my BOI report as yet. However, it's something that I am going to get on before the end of this week, because like I said, at the time that I am recording this video, and hopefully I get to post it by end of day today, we got 11 days to not go to prison. So let's do what we have to do. Additionally, just something to note, this applies to any businesses that were formed prior to January 2024. So if you have a new business that's less than a year old, you probably already have provided that information to them, and that's why they're not asking it. That's why they're not requesting it of you, because they probably have like updated whatever forms or protocols that are required in order to register a business. But if you've got something that existed prior to the start of last year, I believe it's last year. Yeah, prior to the start of 2024, January 1, 2024, you need to file your BOI report so that you don't go to jail or prison. Prison is worse. Well, maybe it depends on which one. Either way, we don't want to go. We don't want to get locked up because we have money to make, right? Exactly. And employees to pay and families to feed and fun to be had and life to live. So let's stay out the system, y'all. Anyway, the reason why I really wanted to make this video was because, as far as I know, we weren't notified. Like, there was I didn't get a piece of mail. I didn't get an email from the government. All I saw were the memes on Instagram that kind of like alerted me to what was going on. And I wasn't really paying attention to them for a minute, because I was like, if it's real, then I'm going to get an envelope from the U.S. Treasury Department or from FinCEN that says, here's this report that you need to file. This is the link. This is the form, by such and such date. But I did not get that. The only notification that I got that came across as somewhat legitimate was actually from LegalZoom, because I did use LegalZoom to register my business when I did go through that process. And so LegalZoom, they are, and I'm not necessarily recommending LegalZoom as a way to set up your business, but it is a way to go ahead and set up your business. If you don't have your own attorney or accountant to help you, LegalZoom does kind of facilitate that process for you. I will say though that I did experience what I felt like were a lot of delays through LegalZoom. They do kind of have a tracker that lets you know like what status everything is in, but there was also like a lack of communication. That said, I don't know if I can really attribute the delays to LegalZoom as much as I can attribute it to the state, which is New York. Because like they still, like if I was to do it by myself, I think at the time New York was still only accepting like business registration applications or requests by fax line or like by the mail. And then there would be no way to track the status of your request, no way for you to call and see like, am I missing information? Is this why it's delayed? Like, it's like you kind of just are throwing all your information into a black hole. You have to trust that when you looked your business name up in the registry, that what you saw there was up to date. So like you're kind of just like sending your stuff off, crossing your fingers, and just waiting to hear back somewhere between like 6 to 12 weeks. If you go through that process with an attorney, it tends to be expedited. There is also a way to expedite it, but I don't really believe in expediting things unless, you have a true emergency. And I don't know if this is true for all 50 states, but I do know that in the state of New York, there is a short window of time where they will allow you to get away with operating a business without being officially registered. Like they'll allow you to do it. Like even when I was filling out my application, there was a question like, have you been operating as a business before you filed this paperwork? Have you been using this business name before you filed this paperwork? And I kind of was, because like the idea was real. It was like very unofficial at the time. Like I had like gotten my website together. I was shopping clients and stuff, but I don't recommend that at all. But that's just like an FYI. Like if you have an idea today and you're itching to get started, but you don't have the paperwork filed, at least just go on the like registry list and make sure that nobody else is using your business name. I would say go ahead and get your website, like set up your socials. Like you can do those things before you file for like your EIN. It's risky, of course, but you can do it as long as your next immediate step is filing that paperwork, especially before anyone else does, because as soon as you start using that business name, you do become like a target to scammers. Like, people will then, you know, try and like buy stuff out under your name or start stuff under your name, so that you're then like forced to pay them for, you know, for using that label. So don't put yourself in that situation. If you already have put yourself in that situation, like if you got an Etsy shop that you've been just using and like paying yourself directly into your personal bank account, you can go ahead and make yourself official, is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to like operate under the radar forever, and you really shouldn't. Not if you plan on growing, expanding, having employees, but it is fine for like a little while, a short while. Anyway, like I was saying before, the fine is $10,000, and that probably, I don't know, it might be like a max fine of $10,000. They're probably doing something like, you know, $200 a day for every day that you don't file past the deadline. And then, like I said, prison time. So we're not going to put ourselves in that situation. But anyway, the step that we're going to take is to file, right? So we're going to go to the BOI website. And actually, the BOI site is under FinCEN's website. So I believe it is www.fincen, that's FINCEN.gov. And then it's going to be /BOI. And then from there, you'll see, you know, step-by-step guide. So prior to going to the website, just make sure you have anybody who owns 25% or more of your business, partnership, LLC, as whatever it is, whatever type of organization it is that you have 10 or 20 or fewer employees, you have a revenue of $5 million or less. You're going to make sure that you gather all of their personal information prior to filing: first name, last name, date of birth. Get a copy of a valid form of identification for them. And that would be, you know, a driver's license or a passport, preferred types of IDs. And then you're just going to, again, follow the steps that they have listed for you there, enter the information, and stay out of jail or prison. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. If you have any other questions, I think that you should talk to an attorney. Go to LegalZoom, just because they're easy and they're top of mind. I'm not really recommending LegalZoom, but they are a resource. Yeah, because I am not an attorney. But if you do have questions, an attorney would be the next best person to reach out to. And yeah, just get as much information as you can regarding the Corporate Transparency Act. Stay informed. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.